everyone, welcome to today's edition of Read to Say. I hope you had a wonderful time and learned something new from the last reading. We'll be reading portions of the Show Up, Standout Show Up book. I am S.A.F.E and I will be reading to you today. Let's go! Wondering how to get this great book? Search Taiwo Akinlami on Amazon and Okada Books. I'm sure your eyes must have caught this when we discussed advanced in knowledge and skill day. That empathy is a life skill in our second breakout session. Could that mean empathy is a skill we need to acquire to live a meaningful and effective life? Capital yes! I verily think so. Empathy is action. Empathy is not apathy. It is not passive. It is action. It is expressed. It is, in most cases, a sacrifice. So please understand this, that we are not perfect. That if we are not perfect, we must bear with other people's imperfections. That we must live by the principle of he who has no sin, let him cast the first stone. That we cannot claim all our rights in relationship. We have to know how and when to let some things pass as if they're not noticed. 5. That we sow understanding as a seed to others. We will reap it back. That the world is full of those who want to be understood and spoon-fed, but the world is looking for those who will understand. As Olakunle Shorian would say, someone has to be solid and it has to be me. That we must look beyond actions and establish motives before we judge or take final decision on matter. That we should be quick to hear, slow to speak, and slow to wrath. That we should keep in mind that the first to plead his case seems just until another comes to examine. That we must make a commitment to always have the full picture of a situation before judging it. That we will be careful not to listen to ourselves alone when judging a matter that appear not favorable to us. That we will not we will not be the best judge in our own matters. That it will take a lot of maturity. To on our best path to be an unbiased judge in our own matters. That we should agree on our first response. To hurt is not anger, but desire to investigate the situation. That in relationship, people's past testimonies of faithfulness and character must have bearing on their mistakes. That we must take a decision to use people's efforts to judge their errors and not use their errors to judge their efforts. Empathy only resides in a big heart. We will therefore make a commitment to practice mind expansion. How do I do that? Simple. Each time I practice any of the measures stated above, I am exercising myself in mind expansion. Hindrance to empathy. This I have found as major hindrances to empathy. Pain. A lot of us find it difficult to see the other person's side of the story once they feel pain. Most people may not listen to the other person once they feel any level of discomfort, which they perceive the other person is responsible for. Consider this story. Janet and Jane were to meet for tutorials at 2 p.m. at Jane's place. Jane and Janet have been classmates and friends for a long while. Janet does not keep to time in all of their appointments. This has been a source concern for Jane. who had in the past discussed her reservation with Janet. Janet agreed that she has serious challenges in that area and she will make necessary adjustments. In fact, in their last 3 appointments, Janet was punctual. This day, Jane's family were to go to the movies. Jane decided to stay at home because of her appointment with Janet. She figured that since they have a major test in a few days' time and Janet had appealed to her on a tutorial, the commitment of a friendship demanded her to be there as a friend for Janet. The generator had a fault and there was no electricity. The whole apartment was dull and hot. But at 2 p.m., Janet was yet to arrive. By 10 minutes past 2, Jane began to call Janet's phone. It rang many times and she did not answer the call. There were 2 circumstances under which Janet doesn't pick her phone. The first is when she is very close to the place of appointment. The second is when she is running very late and does not have any concrete explanation. When Janet did not pick her phone by 3 p.m. and was not yet at Jane's place, Janet concluded that Jane was running late and did not have any concrete explanation. She got very angry. She calmed down a bit and called again. This time around, the phone was switched off. Livid, she sat on the dining table, flipping through the pages of the textbook they were going to use for the tutorial. She thought about all the discussions she had with Janet on punctuality. She thought about how many promises Jane has made and broken. It occurred to her that Jane had mentioned to her the running battle she has at home with her stepmother, who does not release her on time for appointments. It occurred to her that Jane has been punctual in the last 3 appointments. She could not pay attention to these facts as she was already very angry. She thought about the movie she missed. She thought about the fact that the whole apartment is dull and no fun to manage. She thought about the fact that she was the one who was going to take Janet's tutorial. Jane picked up her phone, she looked at the time, and it was already 4:15 p.m. She decided to send a text message. As she composed the text, it occurred to her that Janet has not been this late for an appointment before. Could anything be wrong? She gave no room to this thought. She sent a text message to Janet. Janet, it is over. I cannot take this nonsense anymore. Do not come to my house. I will not. I have gone out. And don't call my phone. I will not pick. 10 minutes after sending the message, Jane's phone rang. She looked at it and saw Janet's number. She said to herself, why did she now switch on her phone more than 10 times? She got a call from Janet's stepmother asking if she was still with her. She told her that she never saw Janet. You mean Janet never got to your place? Have you called her phone? She asked the mom. Yes, but it is switched off, responded the mom. To cut this long story short, it was later found out that Janet was hit by a car on her way to Jane's house. As she just did a SIM card swap that afternoon, having misplaced her phones a few weeks back. The only number that was found on her phone was Jane's number. Janet had lost a lot of blood and needed blood transfusion. The doctor did not do much as no one came to her aid. At the time, Janet was found in the general hospital. She was at the emergency ward. The doctor said she could have been saved if something was done immediately. But now, was 10 hours later, and she had a 50-50 chance of survival.